Um,
What kind of terrible poetry do you have for me today? I need a nap.
all of the same, and yet somehow worse.
No,
Um,
I mean, I feel like this is interesting. Like, this is the best part of this podcast. That I thought your poetry was terrible. I had no idea.
Rhyme or free, it doesn't matter to me. It's my bad poetry.
Good day, and welcome to My Bad Poetry, a podcast where we take a deep dive into my dabbling with poetry between 2004 and 2008, when I was in high school. Each week we hear a selection read aloud for what may be the first time, and we'll examine it for its historical, philosophical, and literary qualities, always asking, why in the world did I write this? I'm Aaron, and I am dragging my dear friend Dave with me on this journey into my old private journal. And Dave, you are continuing the trend of contributing to this podcast with a poem.
Contributing is a very strong word for the garbage that I'm doing.
I'm waiting for this eloquent speech.
Oh, okay. Podcast. Why do this thing? Purpose drips from our mics. Form and function turn to disgust. Aaron.
Okay, so I know that you've been experimenting with various styles, expanding
Yes.
your repertoire,
Yes.
and the listeners' repertoire, considering
Yes.
the garbage that I put forward. So, what style are you introducing to us today?
This is what is called the Sin Cane.
Oh,
It's a 5-line poem that has 2 syllables, then 4 syllables, then 6 syllables, then 8, and then 2. And I did like a surprising amount of research on this. And by a
okay.
surprising amount of research, I mean I visited multiple Wikipedia pages.
Well, more
I
than
know.
one is a lot.
More than one. I'm very impressed with myself.
Yeah.
But my favorite thing is that I was trying to figure out how to do this. And I found a website that like gave you the definitive rules for sin canes. And I thought that was going to be really helpful. And the definitive rules are it goes in multiples and it has to, absolutely has to, have a rhyme scheme of A, B, B, A, 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 B, A, B, A, A, B, 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 A, B, C, B, A, or it can be free verse.
Interesting.
So essentially, like, there's a hard and fast rule that it has to have a rhyme or it doesn't.
Now you said it goes in multiples. Go through the syllables again. It goes 2, 4, 8.
2, 4, 6, 8, 2. So
That's
then,
not a multiple. Oh, a multiple
no,
of 2?
so like when they say it has to go in multiples, there are some sin canes that are 4, 4, 8, 12, 16, 4.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, I'm glad that you brought this to us because with that newly established goal of mine of introducing an actual poetic term or phrase within this podcast that I don't know, we've done off and on the last couple times.
Mhm.
I didn't have anything prepared for this poem, so
Booyah.
we got it. We got it covered. Speaking of this poem,
Oh, do we have to?
I really don't, but these are the parameters that I have set for myself.
That's fair.
And
That's
so
fair.
I follow. The poem that we are going to hear today comes to us from that same fateful day, December 5th, 2005. This poem is called Rage. Okay. At least try, Dave.
I can't.
I
I
know.
can't.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I feel a rage that cannot be explained. It boils deep in my heart, being held back by an invisible barrier. I feel rage because of fake friends and backstabbers. I feel rage because no one can know me. I want to be understood, but that will never happen. Oh, the cringe on your face.
I So looking at this, Oh, sorry, we need to do first impressions before
Yes,
structure.
first impressions. Dave,
Oh,
other than that cringe that was plastered on your face through most of the reading.
yep. First impressions. Again, this is a universal feeling that everybody has and is expressed in the exact same way that every, teenager who doesn't know how to write poetry expresses it.
Yep.
Oh, there is nothing new under the sun, and nothing new in the Wolf Journal.
Yeah. If only my wolf journal could resemble the wisdom of Ecclesiastes. Yeah, first impressions. Reading through this, I just want to like shake my head at my former self. Calm down, buddy.
Yeah,
It's not as bad as you think.
the person who wrote this poem desperately needs a warm blanket, a nice cold glass of milk, and a hug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, structure.
Okay, I have a big structural question.
Yes.
So, looking at the poem,
Yep.
I see that on the fourth line, it appears that there are two spaces in between I and feel. Is that done intentionally, or are you just bad at typing?
I think I'm just bad at typing. Microsoft Word is telling me that is wrong. Yeah. Nope.
I want to spend some time on the word rage.
Okay.
I was thinking rage is a very specific choice here. Because, and this is me being like a high-minded intellectual, rage, to me, is all about the Incredible Hulk.
Oh. Again, not where I thought you were going to go
No,
with that. But
no. Well, no, I think rage, rage for me is active. I think like people flying into a rage is more often where I hear that word used rather than feeling rage or feeling a rage. I see rage as more of a verb and like people feeling angry or frustrated or upset.
yeah, I agree with you. I think rage is often thought of in that context, and that the Hulk goes green only so often.
But he's always angry, Aaron.
He's always angry. That's his secret.
Gosh, we're so cool.
And I think that's one of the reasons why I was slightly hesitant to even bring this one forward. This word almost has an entirely new context. Some 16 years since I wrote this, I think we have seen rage,
Right.
and it is terrifying.
No.
We've seen this kind of emotion play out on our news in very, very depressing and raw and disturbing ways.
Yeah.
And so when I came back to this poem and read the title, I just was so almost worried about my previous self.
Oh, sure.
And then I was like, how could I ever identify with this kind of emotion? To use that word, but I think I think the context was slightly different. Slightly.
Yeah.
I think or I was more blind to it. And so I used this word maybe more innocuously than how it might be heard on the page.
But also, I think that that is a valuable perspective to lift out, that we have seen rage play out on in the media and in communities, and we know what that looks like. But this isn't rage playing out. This is rage being expressed in a poem, in a journal. Like, I think that there is something to be said for rage is something that can be expressed, but it can boil over. And that's often what we're seeing. We're not seeing anger play out. We're seeing years of anger play out, you know? It's kind of that whole straw that breaks the camel's back. Like incidents of road rage, it's not one person having one bad day. It's a person who has is in this cycle of rage. And so I would say that the ability to express that rage in a healthier way, such as writing it down rather than taking action on it, is kind of a wonderful thing that I worry our modern society is missing out on.
Yeah, maybe I agree with you in that there's clearly some emotional processing that went into this journal, and perhaps my lovely wolf journal was that invisible barrier
Oh gosh.
that held back this rage that boiled within my heart. But I think that the cycle of rage is different now in that these kind of emotions could go into a journal, be processed, and moved on from.
Mm-hmm.
And nowadays, these type of emotions get put out in the public
Yeah.
on a Twitter feed, on a podcast. But I mean, they get cycled out there. They get thumbs up, they get shared,
Yep.
and they get reworked and revamped and recycled into just a movement of rage.
Well, and that I hate going back to TikTok all of the time, but that is the issue with TikTok and with Facebook and with all of those algorithmic based social media platforms where like I know that I okay. I recently had to do a cleanup of my Facebook of my news feed on Facebook because there were people that I would go and check their page every day knowing that they were going to post things that were going to bother me.
That would boil your blood. Yep.
Exactly. I was telling myself I want to keep an eye on them and make sure everything's okay, but really it was I want to like scratch that bit of my brain that just wants to feel hate.
Yeah.
Like I want to feel that because there's something powerful in that. And those people kept showing up on my newsfeed. And then I started getting advertisements for people that those people were sharing. And it became this cycle of, I want to feel angry. And wow, is that a powerful emotion?
Yeah.
So like, it's the same as writing it down, but rather than writing it down and processing it, it's writing it down and then writing it down again and then writing it down again and then writing it down again and have it just being blasted into my eyes 24/7.
Yeah. I think I mean, you can see just the emotional range that happens within one day of writing.
Yeah.
I have why, I have rage, which coming off the backs of why makes a little sense. I'm frustrated. I'm not understanding things that are going on. I'm clearly lashing out at a friend group that I think doesn't support me in this, what I thought was a valiant effort of trying to regain, or not regain. What is the word? Rekindle. Yes. Rekindle a relationship. They're not supporting me, so they clearly don't understand.
Yeah.
So this comes out. And then the next poem that follows is more of a reflection again on the relationship. And yes, it's piney again, but that anger, that edge is gone. It's gone entirely in the next poem. So I think there is something to processing it once and closing the book.
Yeah.
And leaving it for a while.
Right.
But like you said, we get those feedback loops that bring us into cycles of, and it doesn't have to be rage. It can be cycles of depressing news. It can be we're exposed to so much more than ever before, and I don't think our brains are structured for that. Yeah, I think we've explored the rage. I am interested. I joked that the Wolf Journal was the invisible barrier.
Yeah, what the heck is the invisible barrier? Like, you're talking about something that's boiling in your heart. So the invisible barrier, is it your rib cage?
You're such a literalist, Dave.
I will get into symbolism and figures of metaphor when you start writing symbolism and figures of metaphor.
No, that's fair. That is very fair. Yeah, the invisible barrier, being held back by an invisible barrier.
Yeah.
Be it love? No?
Be it love.
Too corny?
Be it,
the love and understanding of family and friends who actually are true friends and not backstabbers.
I was going to say passive aggression, but sure, that works too.
Yeah, no, I didn't grow up in Minnesota. Yeah. It is nice to know, and I can tell my 15-year-old self that people do know me. They know me pretty well. And I think I'm fairly well understood by friends and family alike.
Okay.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I really think that fundamentally we as individuals can't be understood, because that would mean that we as individuals are internally coherent.
Okay. I like this. I like this train of thought here. So you're going to argue with me that we in fact can't be known, and just understanding that it is not a rageable is not
Rageable.
does not deserve rage.
Worthy of rage.
Is not
Yeah.
worthy of it. Thank you.
I think that that's one of the beauties of humanity, is that, like, I will never fully understand my wife, because she is also in the process of understanding herself, in the same way that she can't fully understand me, because I'm still trying to figure out who the heck I am and what I should be. So yeah, I think there's the idealized version. There's the face that we put on for being out in public. Then you get into the whole concept of like the different faces we put on for different groups of people. So I think that we can do better than seeking to be understood. Ooh, that's Saint Francis.
I think it is, yeah.
Yes. So, St. Francis, really strange guy. He preached sermons to birds. He was kind of an ascetic. He gave up absolutely everything and spent his entire life only serving other people. Just an incredible person to learn about. But there's this prayer that he wrote that's all about being an instrument of God's peace in the world. Where there's hatred, we should sow love. Where there's injury, pardon, doubt, faith, despair, hope. Wonderful. And then he gets into this second section. O divine master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. It's all about placing the importance on others and seeking to understand. And I think it's valuable to seek to understand yourself, to seek to understand the people around you. And that's kind of that interplay of what it means to be understood.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. I think that the emotion felt in this poem of no one can know me, I want to be understood, it gets at that feeling that we truly do want to be understood by people.
Right.
But the way we do that is to seek to understand each other. I mean, if I were to just sit in my own little box, I can come up with a million different ways to imagine myself.
Right.
And no one else would know that. And so how could they know me, how I understand myself?
Yeah.
But when we get in community with one another and or in loving relationships with one another, we define each other by me seeking to understand my crazy 2-year-old.
Yeah.
Not only the sentences she's trying to create, but
Right.
like her own interests and the things that she is up to in this world. She's learning about herself through how we understand her.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
You hit the nail on the head there. We think about children in that way. We try to understand them as they try to understand themselves, as they learn about themselves and grow. And at some point, we forget that. Like, at some point, we imagine that this person is fully formed. And then it's just, oh no, they're simple again.
Yeah, we're not fully formed. We're always forming.
Ooh.
You can tell we're two pastors.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Which way do we want to take this? Do we want to talk about the Reformation? Or do we want to talk about not being conformed to the world, but be transformed by the power of God?
I like transforming grace. That's where I'm feeling it today.
Nerd.
We've gone off the rails again, I think.
Right.
And most likely none of this will make it in because
Yeah, that's fair.
I try and hit that 19-minute mark, but this is fun.
Yeah.
So
I mean, this was a good conversation.
yeah, it was. Okay, Dave. We're gonna end our time with the. Oh, I had something for this. Now I feel like Archer.
Phrasing.
Good or garbage, Dave?
Oh, good or garbage. I'm trying to come up with a really good metaphor for this. And I honestly have nothing. I have no metaphor for this. I think that this poem has value.
I can see that it hurt you to say that.
Yes, I feel like I need to take a shower after
Mhm.
saying that. I mean, the value isn't in the poem. The
No.
value is in interpretation. And we had some good thoughts on how other things work. So I would say that this falls squarely in the middle of good or garbage. I'm going to say that this is very clearly or.
We're going to end our time this week, as we end every week, with the words of a true poet to soothe that rage which boils deep within your hearts after hearing us speak for so long. The poem we will hear today is called Hatred by Gwendolyn Bennett, and this is the first half of the poem. I shall hate you like a dart of singing steel, shot through still air at eventide, or solemnly as pines are sober when they stand etched against the sky. Hating you shall be a game, played with cool hands and slim fingers. This has been My Bad Poetry.
Now go write some of your own bad poetry. Oh, that was good.
That was fun.
You got problems, man.
I do. Yep, totally.
Rhyme free doesn't matter.